So the question would be how to measure the hand and how to measure the life of the hand from obviously just the palm, and what would be the easiest way to do that, because obviously it's tricky business.
Okay, it's very easy, in fact, if explained properly. Um, there are different ways of measuring life itself, the events, or how events are happening. Some people, they measure from life inside towards outward, and they go this way. Or, but the way I have learned, it goes. You start the life from actually measurement starts from here, but then actually life starts from there. So it's like a mix of both sides. So the basic concept is that this palm is the total measurement of is your actually basic fundamental rule of thumb to measure. So bigger or smaller palm will actually determine your midpoint. So what you do is all fingers have a bottom where they connect with your palm.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, fingers go all the way down. Yeah, fingers are too long, but by look outside, the fingers have a connector here, a line. You see those lines here, bottom line.
Yeah.
So you take under the Saturn, the middle finger, the Saturn finger. There's this line here. Okay, that's bottom of where finger and palm are connecting. There's a line.
Yeah.
Similarly, on the hand itself, where the palm ends and your wrist join the palm, there are several rings. The very top ring, which is complete ring, where you actually can see a proper ring. If you look at it, there are like a broken ring and another ring, but you see one right under your Mount of Luna and Venus, a ring. When you bend, you can see clearly. There's a line that differentiates your arm and your palm. Okay, it separates them, that line. So you take that point, at this point, and then you draw a line all the way straight from middle of this to middle of that. But do not exceed over the line, do not exceed under the line, either way. Okay, so the distance between this point and that point is the measurement of your hand, your palm. Now you take exactly the same, the middle of it. You take exactly the middle of it, and then you draw this middle of it, and you draw an across. This is your total life. You draw a line across exactly parallel to it and mark your lifeline.
Yeah.
Where you mark your lifeline, that's 40 years of your age. Okay. So center of the palm, exactly the center of the palm, you go across, place a little tiny mark on the lifeline parallel to it. That's your 40 years. The best way to do is either you take a picture of your hand, print it, or you can put it on a scanner, print it. Okay, try to print black and white so that you can see more clear lines. So what you do is then you take a ruler, and then you can actually draw lines between this point, and so you can actually mark the line here and then there, and then you draw a line. Then you take the right in the middle. For example, it's exactly 5 inches. For example, this is exactly. So the middle of it is exactly 2.5 inches.
Yeah.
So in centimeters, let's say it's 20 centimeters, right? Or 21 centimeters, or 20 centimeters. The right middle is 10 centimeters.
Yeah.
Okay. So wherever this is, regardless of how big the palm is, wherever the center of the palm you draw, you go exactly across over the lifeline and mark it. That's 40 years. When you have 40 years, then you take it. Now, one very important point that people actually miss out is that where the palm starts and where the lifelines start. I think we covered in the previous, mentioned it, but let me cover it again. Okay, just let me be careful. So what you see is the palm, inside palm, and the back of the hand. The two skin are of different colors.
Yeah.
You can see where the meet. Okay, that's the inside. That's the beginning. So if you have a heart line, this is a heart line, beginning of it. So it doesn't start from here. It starts from actually where this light and dark skin starts, and you can actually see it with if you have a good eyesight, or you can see with a micro. There will be some branch or something touching, starting from here, not beyond. It never goes beyond. It always starts from here. So that's your starting point. So if you measure, you go this way, and then you start to measure. Do not start from here or anywhere. That's the starting point. Same way is your lifeline. So lifeline starts from here, exactly where dark skin and the light skin meet.
Yeah.
That's the very beginning point. So you mark that. So you take the 40 years and this, and then you divide it into half. So once you have half, so you take 20, 20, 20, 20. So let's say your lifeline goes all the way down and it's strong up to 80 years. So assuming you will live 80 years at this point. So you take 80 years, and this is the beginning point, 20, 40, 60, and 80. Or if line goes strong, you can even go to 100 years of age. Now, so you now have a marking for each one for 20 years. So with 20 years, then you can divide 20 years into, and take the middle of it, 10 years. Take middle of the 10 years, 5 years. And within 5 years, then you divide the 5 years into 5 equal parts. So you just keep marking 1, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5 within, first you divide 20, 20, 20, then 10, 10, 10, then 5, 5, 5, and then 1 year. So each division within the 5 will be 1 year. This will be approximately like if you look on the foot ruler, you will see the inch, how far the inch, the fraction of the inch is apart, or whether fraction is 12 or 16 or whatever. So then it's equal to one fraction. Or in centimeters, probably it's like a millimeter or a millimeter and a half. That's equal to 1 year.
Okay.
So once you're done that, I'll actually add, within this lecture, I'll actually add a photo of the hand that you can see, an example. So now this is the way you measure the hand lifeline. Same way you go to your heart line, you start to measure from there, same distance that you measured here, approximately. So let's say you have a very large hand. So you have 1 centimeter is equal to 5 years by measurement. So you take 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter, 1 centimeter. Let's say your heart, you divide it for 80, because lifeline is 80 years, your heart is 80 years. So you put 10 years for 8 centimeters on this. Same way you go with your, so you start here, and then you go on a brain line, go 80 years and beyond, whatever. So you 5 years, and then within the 5 years you have fractions. So now you have a full hand measured, all your lines measured properly. Now you look at the events to establish if you have measured it right. For example, there's in one hand, let's say there's a divorce, for example. And it's a major event that will show up on your lifeline, definitely.
Okay.
Or there's a big fall, for example, of somebody who falls, there's a big indication. So any sign that is like there's a break for some kind of an accident. So let's say it's happening in the age of 30, for example. And if there was let's say a car accident, and there was a break, and you almost died, but you had a head injury. So if you see that in 30 years on your headline, and you see some kind of a break or box or some cut or the breaks, something, some indication that shows that at same age, at same point in age, in time, you had a brain injury. So now you can correlate, okay, this is the right time. Then have we measured it? So if you go here and you say, okay, you go and you calculate it's accident is 30 years. So if you say, okay, did you have an accident in 30 years when you were 30 years of age? The person, no, I was 31. So you can adjust your time. See, and if you say, no, I was 35, then you say, oh, you're 5 years off. So it will help you to adjust, because when you are measuring the hand, you may have actually made it, slightly wrong. So then by asking that approximate question, because now it is happening in the early 30s, so 31, 32, 34, 35, when you say, okay, something happened in your life in the age of 32, they say, no, it's 35, then you can say, okay, this is 35, and then you can adjust the whole mechanism. But do it at the very beginning before you start going and dividing the whole hand. And then you do, when you are working with the lifeline, you actually do it right then there. When you're like marking the 20 years and 10 years, very, 4 lines on the whole hand, lifeline. Say, okay, around 40 years, and this should be, just guessing. Okay, so it's 30, 35. Did you have an accident about 35? Now one fraction has to come there. So when you divide 20 into 10, 10 into 5, that spot should fall right on 35. Then you have done the right measurement. Okay. So I'll add some actual drawings, and you can see that, how I have divided them. It's a very old document that I have. I've taken a picture of it, and it's there, and I'll just add at the end of this video so you can actually.
Right. Here is the example. It's a Pisces hand of a friend. I took it in 1992, I guess. So the way to divide it is you take this complete ring on the very bottom of where the wrist and the palm join. And you take the bottom of the Saturn ring where it meets the Saturn at the palm, and then you draw a straight line like you see here. Then you take the right, exactly the middle of it, and that's the half of your palm. So you go right across here, and this is 40 years of age. Now, once you have 40 years of age, you on a black and white, the 2-color skin that I told you about, you draw here a line, and then you divide this 40 years into half of it. Let's say this is 20 years. Now, 20 and 20, okay? So then you divide 20 into another half, and that's another half. Now it's 10, 20, 30, and now 40. And then you go here 50, 60, 70, and 80. And if it allows you to go further down, that'll be 90. So it depends on the width of the palm itself, the length of the palm, which will decide how much you can measure on a life. So if his palm is longer or the line is longer, you will have 100 years or maybe more. Now, once you have done that, so you take this measurement, this size, and then you go and extend it through your headline the same way. You can see these marks here. So you divide them. So 5 years, on the lifeline where you have this 10 years, you can actually divide the 10 years into further half, and it will become 5 years. 5 years, 5 years. Here you go. And then within the 5 years, you can start. You see those small dotted lines. Let me make it a little larger for you. So within that, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 years. Same on the lifeline. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 years. So this is approximately 1 centimeter, maybe more or less. But when you're using a ruler, you can measure this exact distance, and then you can do the same with your lifeline. headline. And then you can also do the same with your heart line. On the heart line side, on the very side of it, and then it goes all the way up wherever it goes. Okay, so as long as you can see, and then you do the same 5 years, 5 years, 5 years, 5 years, 5 years. You continue to do that, and then you have fractions in there, and this is how you have, it has the headline, you see those prominent, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for the division of it. So this is how you divide the hand, and you come up with an approximate of life where the event is happening. So let's say there was a break here. Let's say there was a line crossing it and breaks the lifeline, but then something connects it to, let's say, a box. A box connects it. So it's a break, but box is breaking. That means event happens, life-threatening event happens, and then, but you survive and you continue. Let's say this was happening at the age of something plus minus 40 years. So this one maybe 35 years. So at the same time, let's say this is 35 years. So, and there is an island, something happens in the brain line. So these two are connected at the same time. So you had an accident. Your client had, now your friend had an accident and he suffered a head injury. So then you can say, okay, this was happening at the 35th year in the head and also in the lifeline. So it's the same event. So if you ask them if 35 years, and if it's 35 years, that means your measurements are good. It actually happened. But if he says, no, it was 40 years, then you can say, okay, this point is not 35, but it is 40. Then instead of this 40, you take this point as 40, and then you re-measure the whole hand. So you'll be better off doing this thing before you go on and do rest of the hand. So try to see if you can do it. You can verbally also, you can see, okay, you need to adjust like maybe a dot or two. And that I think if you do it right from the very beginning, correctly, you measure exactly the half of the hand and 40, and then you measure them half and half and half into 10 into 5s. You should only be off by a dot or two. So that you can actually, when you're reading the hand, then you can adjust it accordingly. You can add a year or subtract a year from that distance that the event is happening. And that's it. It's so easy. If you have any question, let me know.